Hey everyone, welcome to your lab writing video. This is an overview of our lab writing template we're going to be using to write our labs and how FRQs that are based on labs are going to be graded. You'll notice on this page there are 7 sections, and it's important to note these last three, the claim, evidence, reason, is very similar to ADI that you may have done in some of your other classes. And so we'll be building a lot more on this as the year goes on. When you are writing labs, you're either going to be investigating some phenomenon in biology, or we're going to be doing what's called reverse engineering, which is where you are given the data and you have to work backwards. This is frequently what you see on the AP exam. So let's talk about the different sections of your lab writing template, the first of which is the question. So the question is designed to set up a way, it's designed to way to identify your independent and dependent variables very, very quickly. And I have some sentence stems here to get you started. You can keep it as simple as this, even on an FRQ. How does blank change in response to blank? So our labs will always start with a question set up in this way. And when you're doing reverse engineering, I'll give you the data and I'll ask you what question was the scientist looking at. It can be a one-sentence answer just like this. The hypothesis takes the independent and dependent variables and predicts what that relationship will be. So you're going to focus on an increase, decrease. You can write it as an if-then statement. We would prefer that you didn't, but we did. The whole thing about the hypothesis is you're focusing on the effect between the independent and dependent variable. When you are writing about your experimental setup, you have to identify the conditions of the control. So remember that your control is what's considered normal. For example, if you were looking at how does fever or how does high temperature affect the rate of bacterial reproduction in a human, then your control conditions would be at normal body temperature. And then your experimental, because it's a fever, would be slightly higher then. So your control will be normal conditions, and then you'll explain how you're going to manipulate that independent variable. What are you changing? Are you increasing the temperature, decreasing the temperature? You also need to list at least two factors that will remain constant for each experiment. And then how are you going to measure that change in the dependent variable? So it might be we're going to count the number of bacteria, or we're going to do a sample of blood and use that to do the count. And then you always want to include that there's going to be multiple trials to confirm those results. The next section is the data section. Graphs and tables have to have their axes labeled. Make sure you account for all data points. That does include the control as well. We are going to be practicing a lot of this during the school year. It is a specific science skill we're going to focus on. And then the claim, evidence, reasoning. So claim, you take your hypothesis and turn it into a statement based on your findings. The evidence is going to be measurable and must support your claim. And then the reasoning is going to be how that connects to a biological concept. And it may be that we do just this portion for a lab, or we do this portion for a lab. But we're going to practice this all year long. It's one of the science skills that College Board wants you to develop, including the individual pieces on here. We'll be practicing with labs themselves and with other activities. Hope this helped you guys. Like I said, we will be practicing this as the year goes on in different portions. Thanks for watching.